I'm going to tell you something that you already know in your heart. This short but important life you're living is all yours and no one else's. No one else can breathe your air, think your thoughts, or feel your pain, carry your weight, or wipe away the tears that don't show up when the world turns away. This is why the road you walk must. Stoics knew this to be true. If you walk alone, don't be sad, be strong. They didn't shy away from solitude or find the thought of being alone scary. In fact, they were looking forward to it. They thought of silence not as an absence, but as being with oneself by being alone. They found the most honest version of themselves. Power and freedom that no group or company could ever give it. In the quiet, there is no show. There is only truth. Something holy about sitting in silence with yourself. Something old and powerful when the world gets loud and the noise claws at your attention. Quiet becomes your sanctuary. It is in this silence free of distraction and pretension where you can begin the worthwhile work of self-discovery. You must walk your way alone, not as an act of separation, but as a rite of passage, a holy journey into your own soul. For only when you face yourself without the armor of company, without the filters of the crowd, can you learn who you truly are. And until you do, how can you possibly lead, help, or love anyone else with heart? This video is not just a philosophy. It is a call to action. It is not a set of thoughts to study, but a fire to spark something hidden inside of you. A sign that before you can help others, before you can change the world, or inspire another person, you must first walk into the stillness of your own soul. You must peel back the layers you've purchased. You must tear down the masks you've worn for life. You must sit eye to eye with the person you've been avoiding yourself. You must ask yourself the uncomfortable questions. Who am I? Without the noise. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I truly want beyond the views and the pressures and the masks I've learned to wear? Can I sit alone and still feel whole? Because if solitude makes you squirm, then perhaps you are not yet living in line with your own truth. Your solitude is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It shows the things that comfort tries to hide. It is the kiln in which self-reliance, courage, and real understanding are made from this place. From this sacred space of thought, you do not emerge weaker. You rise with fire in your bones and direction in your heart. So let us begin. Let us walk this way together alone. Not because we are left, but because we are picking the best form of love. The kind that starts within, the kind that cannot be shaken. The kind that shines even in the dark. Chapter 1. The loneliness of the truth. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Most of this waste happens not in chaos, but in distraction. We allow the noise of the world to drown out the whisper of our inner voice. That whisper, the voice of the soul, is often buried under the weight of other people's requests. To walk your way alone means to commit to listening to that whisper." Let's not romanticize loneliness. It is uncomfortable. It is often painful, but it is also needed in the lack of external help you are forced to face. Whether your goals are truly yours, or merely the echo of someone else's applause, every person must come to a moment of reckoning, a place where the road splits, and safety is on one side, and truth is on the other. Most choose comfort. Most retreat into the arms of comfort, surrounded by people and habits that never push them to change. But the Stoic chooses truth. The Stoic picks the narrow, quiet, and often misunderstood road that goes inward, not outward. This way needs strength, not in body, but in spirit. It demands faith that does not weaken with thought. You are not here to please everyone. You are not here to walk the same road as everyone else. You are here to become who you were meant to be, someone matched with their nature, not someone changed by the whims of society. And that means moving away from the crowd. That means going in the opposite direction of safety and reliability. That means stopping the chase for praise, the mirage of popular IT, and the myths of sameness that lead so many wrong. It means making peace with being misunderstood, with not fitting in, with taking a road that might feel strange even to you. That means sitting in quiet, asking hard questions, and being ready to not have all the answers. It means being open with yourself, noting your fears without letting them guide your choices. It means staring directly at your inner issues and sitting with them. Not to judge, but to understand. That means loneliness. But it is not the loneliness of nothingness. It is the loneliness of growth. The place where your soul finally has room to breathe, grow, and reunite with what is most important. And here's the bigger truth. There's a secret one. Only the brave discover. Loneliness doesn't mean you are lost. It often means you are finally found. It means you have stopped running from yourself, from your past, from your stillness. It means you are no longer trying to fill the void with praise, noise, or distraction. You are facing the void and knowing it isn't empty. It's full of the raw material of your becoming. You are no longer hiding your pain with work or chasing short highs to avoid sitting with your scars. You are standing on holy ground, on the edge of something greater than you've ever known your true self. In that holy conflict, you are not breaking. You are making. You are not killing. You are being reborn. Every breath in solitude makes you into someone who does not need to be defined by others. You begin to understand your fears, to trace their origins, to destroy the ideas that have kept you caged for years. This process isn't quick, and it isn't easy, but every moment spent going through that inner fire sharpens your soul like steel beneath the hammer. You begin to feel a stillness growing inside you, a kind of strong personality that cannot be made, only fostered. You are learning that peace is not in being surrounded. It is in being centered, based not on wins titles or ties, but on character, on unity, on a firm dedication to your own growth. You are learning that your real self is not found in reflection, but in revelation. That revelation is raw and unplanned. It comes not through echo chambers, but through deep silence, not through agreement, but through challenge, not through looks, but through authenticity, through the guts to say what you fear, through the stillness to notice what you feel, through the strength to walk into your own chaos and cut out a way with your bare hands. And revelation only comes when you walk alone through the valley. When you stop seeking light from others and begin to carry your own flame, when your spark becomes the only thing that lights your way, you understand that was all you ever needed. Not a fire given to you, but the fire you lit yourself. A fire that will never go out because it was lit by the truth. You'll find yourself more grounded, less responding, more awake. You'll carry something that cannot be seen, but is always felt, an inner authority formed, not in the spotlight, but in the solitude you chose. This is how you know you're not lost. You're exactly where you're meant to be, walking your path alone, with light in your chest and freedom in your stride. Chapter 2. Epicus and the Inner Citadel. Epictetus, born a slave and later freed, knew better than most the value of inner strength. He spoke of the inner citadel, a fortress within the soul, where no external force could reach. You could be chained, beaten, exiled, or even mocked, but no one could touch the fortress within, unless you gave them permission to build that citadel. You must walk your way alone when you count on others to define your worth or determine your peace. You hand them the keys to your inner kingdom. And when they leave, as all finally do, you are left helpless. Their absence becomes your fall. Their silence becomes your breakdown. And depending on them, you unknowingly leave yourself. Your mental world becomes a copy of someone else's actions. Your protection becomes uncertain. Your happiness becomes flexible. And in that shaky deal, your power is lost. Going alone teaches you how to make walls, not to keep people out, but to keep your soul alive. You learn how to split between who you are and who others want you to be. You discover that boundaries are not hurdles. They are declarations of self-respect. They are not walls of separation, but walls of sacred space, where you rediscover your center, recalibrate your direction, and reawaken your power. As you walk this path, you begin to feel the firm ground beneath your feet returning to you. You no longer question every step based on how others might view it. You walk for yourself, not in ego, but in unity. You start hearing your own voice again, the one that was shut out by duty hope. And where that voice gets stronger, the longer you stay with yourself, it becomes not just a whisper, but a beat, a chant, a battle cry. You begin to rebuild trust with yourself, brick by brick, moment by moment, promise by promise. You learn that the most important tie is the one you make and keep to yourself. Begin by taking time each day to escape into yourself. Turn off the noise. No phones, no distractions, just you, your breath, and the truth. Sit with the pain. Let the quiet grow. Let the thoughts pop up. Some may be ugly, others will be illuminating, but they are yours, and they carry the seeds of your liberation. Stay with them, trace them, journal them, understand them. Ask yourself, what am I afraid to face alone? What parts of me have I silenced to be accepted by others? What truth have I hidden so deep I can barely name it? What lies have I given myself to keep peace at the cost of truth? The answer to these questions, though painful, holds the key to your freedom. And freedom is not found in running. It is not found in playing. It is found in coming back to the only place where peace can truly begin, within the silence, within the stillness, within the self. You've always been waiting to be fully known, fully noticed, and finally set free. Chapter 3, The Mirror of Solitude. Solitude is a mirror. It shows you who you really are, not who you pretend to be, in front of others. When you sit alone with nothing but your thoughts, you begin to see the patterns, the lies you've told yourself, the pain you've hidden, the hopes you've delayed. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, journaled daily, not to show the world how wise he was, but to hold himself self-accountable. His thoughts were private, reflections never meant to be published, yet they endure today as a testament to the power of quiet. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Ask yourself, can you sit in a room alone without needing to numb yourself with entertainment? Can you fight the urge to check your phone, scroll through a screen, or chase a distraction? Can you sit with your own quiets and listen, not to outside noise, but to the stirring beneath your chest? Can you stare into the mirror of solitude and not look away, even when it shows you the parts of yourself you've tried to forget, the patterns you've ignored, the wounds you've wrapped in smiles? Can you bear the weight of your own thoughts without running from them? That mirror will not charm you. It will show you. It will offer no showing, no praise, no escape. And in that reflection, in that raw struggle, you begin the process of becoming who you are truly meant to be in solitude. You are no longer playing a role. You are no longer changing yourself to fit a version of acceptance. You are simply there with your truth. And the truth, though, sharp is always holy. The first step to greatness is honesty, and honesty is born in quiet, not the kind of quiet that comes from avoidance or denial, but the deep, healthy silence that holds room for your truth to rise, a silence that is not idle, but deeply busy. It is the land where courage is formed, where the roots of self-respect take hold. In that silence, there are no applause breaks, no personalized filters, no outward signs telling you what to believe. There is only you and the still often uncomfortable facts that rise to meet you. It is in this stillness, where nothing is performed and nothing is filtered, that you meet your courage. It is where you face the ghosts you've kept hidden in the dark. These are not just passing fears, but the deep-rooted beliefs that have shaped you, beliefs about your worth, your identity, your place in the world. It is where you understand that growth is not always graceful. It is raw, jagged, and demanding. It is unglamorous. It is filled with doubt, confusion, and resistance. But it is also where something holy stirs within you. A knowledge that the pain you feel is not punishment, but preparation. But in that honest space, you begin to recover yourself, because it takes guts to face yourself without armor. It takes more guts to accept your own flaws than to point out the flaws of others. It takes the strength of 10,000 warriors to peel back your layers and study your cuts, to ask, where did this come from? What am I still carrying that no longer serves me? It takes grit to listen to these secret fears that knock on your chest in the quiet moments. Fears that tell you you're not enough, that you're too broken, that you'll never change. And it takes humility to sit with your limits, without shame to accept them as part of your sacred building. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They're the proof of life. They're the pages of your becoming. But once you do, the noise of the world loses its power. The talk that once controlled your direction begins to fade. The words that used to shake your resolve now barely register like faraway echoes lost in the fog. What once seemed important becomes unimportant. What once hurt begins to fade. The views that once upset you become whispers lost in the wind. You stop trying to earn your worth in a world that never knew how to measure it in the first place. They hold no weight because your truth has become bigger, more grounded, more real. Your views no longer sway with the waves of fame or group pressure. They anchor you with quiet power. The questions that once bound you lose their weight, fall away like dead leaves from a strong tree. You no longer define yourself by your mistakes or fears. Instead, you learn to wear your scars like awards, not for show, but for truth. You no longer need to be carried. You have found your own footing, a footing born not of perfection, but of presence. And from that silence, these seeds of change begin to grow. They stretch toward the light of your awareness. They root deep into your beliefs, cutting into the soil of your soul. They merge with your purpose, becoming inseparable from the person you are becoming. They grow in the dark first, where no one can see, where only you in the silence bear witness. And slowly they bloom into strength, silent, steady, and self-born. A strength that doesn't flare with rage or seek praise. A strength that wakes with the dawn and works without applause. Strength not given by another, but formed from within a strength that is not loud, but unshakable. A strength that does not boast, but endures. A strength that does not bend to praise nor break under criticism. A strength that knows itself, walks with its own rhythm, and does not shift. When the world turns its head, it is not weak, it is not fragile. It is the strength of roots, deep and unknown, supporting a life above this. Is the strength that walks its way alone, not in isolation, but in deep connection with the real self. A self is found in the oven of silence, made by fire and led by truth. And in that truth, you become whole. Not because others approve of you, but because you finally approve of yourself. Chapter 4. The strength of the silent one. There is a myth that strength is loud, that to be strong, you must be seen, heard, and followed. That power comes from ruling a room or giving a talk. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that real strength is made in quiet, not in show truth. Power is quiet. It is the calm in the storm. It is the steady hand amidst panic. It is the man or woman who can stand alone unshaken while others beg for attention, for approval, for some signal of worth. The Stoic does not chase the noise. He disappears into the quiet where his power is grown. When you learn to walk your way alone, you stop needing applause. You stop chasing praise. You stop creating yourself to fit the happiness of others. You begin to live in truth, not performance. You no longer search for yourself in the eyes of others or beg for permission to live in your own skin. You start to enjoy your own company, not because it's handy, but because it's real. Because in your company, you find the kind of stillness that talks, the kind of presence that teaches. It gives you access to something the crowd never will. Inner clarity, the voice of your own understanding that has waited quietly beneath the noise. You become happy in your own company, not because you've given up on others, but because you finally return to yourself. And once you've returned to yourself, you realize you never needed permission to be whole. Wholeness was never out there. It is always within practice. This spend 1 hour alone every day doing nothing, not reading, not watching, not scrolling, just being sit with your thoughts, walk in nature, watch the sky as it shifts from minute to minute. Let your mind settle like silt in still water. Let your breath guide you back to center. Let the pain rise and pass like clouds. At first, it will feel strange, like learning a lost language. But that language is your own the more you listen, the more skilled you become. Listen not for answers, but for presence in that stillness. Your power will grow. Not power over others, but power over yourself. Power over your emotions, over your fears, over the part of you that is tempted to run at the first sign of pain. Power over reaction, fear and confusion. It is the kind of power that cannot be given or taken, only earned through present drive and the unwillingness to leave yourself the world. Trains you to crave excitement, to seek freedom, to run from yourself. From the time you wake, your attention is pulled in 1,000 ways. Likes, alerts, news, noise. You're told that silence is something to avoid. That stillness means stagnation. That solitude is a sign of failure. You're made to think that the next thrill will save you. The next screen will please you. The next voice will complete you. But these are illusions, brief moments of escape that only separate you further from yourself. The more you chase the outside world, the more estranged you become from your own soul. But the Stoic trains to suffer stillness, not just to sit in it, but to welcome it. Like a trusted friend, to sit in the nothingness until it becomes full of. Voice within the Stoic does not fear solitude. The Stoic befriends it. They choose it not because they reject the world, but because they want to return to it stronger, clearer, and whole. They welcome its lessons and lean into its pain, knowing that every moment of true growth starts not in action, but in stillness. In stillness, the fog lifts. In stillness, your real work starts, because it is in that solitude that true power takes birth, not in noise, not in chaos, but in quiet mastery of the self. A strength gained in silence cannot be stolen by noise. And once that mastery starts nothing, external can ever shake. What is deeply rooted within it is a strength that stays not for show, but for soul. Chapter 5. Detachment. And the way within detachment is not indifference. It is not a rejection of love or joy. It is the refusal to let external things govern your peace. It is the choice to take back ownership of your inner world, to recover the throne of your feelings from the ever-shifting chaos of the outside. Detachment is not a cold wall. It is a warm hearth within a place where your character is not shaped by acceptance, but by ideas. To walk your way alone is to break from the need for steady support, to find your purpose, your calling. You must be willing to step away from the noise, to ignore the words of fear that say you're not enough. Unless someone sees you, praises you, picks you, you must say no to the gatherings that drain your spirit. You must turn down the distractions that keep you from your work, your truth yourself. You must dare to sit with your desire and ask it what it truly wants, not who, but what not to love, but relationship. You must listen to your heart's quiet cry without trying to fix it with noise. You must give room for your soul to speak without interruption, without external opinion, without breaking to the desire to be liked, seen, or picked. It may be uncomfortable at first. You may feel the itch to reach for your phone, to text someone, to scroll idle, just to fill the silence. You may tell yourself that link even shallow is better than silence, but this pain is not your enemy. It is your warning. It shows you where the work is. Each time you fight that urge, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Each time you let the silence stretch you. Let your strength grow in those quiet gaps. You hear your vision clearer in those long, quiet breaks. You recover your identity from the pieces spread in other people's hands. Every moment of quiet is a thread in the fabric of self-trust. The fabric becomes stronger with each stitch, more sturdy with each pause. You begin to understand that peace isn't found in being filled. It's found in being balanced. It's found in knowing that your value is not chosen by someone else's friendship, but by your unity with your own truth, different not from love, but from dependency. Detached not from joy, but from the myth that joy must come from outside. You separate, not from people, but from the belief that their presence proves your worth, separate from the false belief that you are not whole, unless someone else completes you. You are already whole, full, missing nothing. You are not a half looking for another half. You are a universe, learning how to orbit yourself. The Stoics thought that virtue alone is sufficient for happiness. They thought the good life was not found in the wealth of things or people, but in the depth of character strength, in goals, loyalty to principle, peace in simplicity. Everything else is decoration. Beautiful perhaps, but not important. When you stop chasing what you think you need, you begin to understand what you already are. You stop acting. You stop pleasing. You start being. And that realization is the root of unshakable freedom. It is not freedom, free from the world, but freedom from the idea that the world holds your peace in its hands. Chapter 6. The trial of separation. Every great soul must pass through the fire of separation. Jesus went into the desert. Buddha sat under the tree. Marcus Aurelius ruled from the lonely seat of power. There is no greatness without solitude. Do not fear isolation. Accept it. It is the oven where character is made. It strips you down to the bone, not to break you, but to rebuild you. Isolation is not punishment. It is cleaning. It is where distractions fall silent, and all that is left is the quiet weight of who you are without anyone watching. In that holy silence, you begin to separate what is important from what is dramatic in isolation. There are no faces, no shows, just you no crowd to please, no expectations to meet, only raw naked truth. The parts of you that have been buried beneath social training and external praise begin to rise. You face yourself in full clarity, not as a managed version, but as you truly are. So what will you do with that time? Will you numb it, or will you use it? Will you avoid yourself, or will you face the unknown stories inside you? Will you sit in denial, or step into discovery? Will you become angry, envious, that the noise is gone? Or will you become better glad that now you can finally hear your own words? Will you shrink from the silence, or will you step into it like a hero entering the temple of truth? This is not an idle question. This is the turn in the road, the quiet moment that separates who you are from who you could become. One direction leads to numbness, the other leads to change. One leads you further from yourself, and the other brings you home. What you choose determines who you become. It is in this moment of silence that your entire life can shift, not by big action, but by the quiet choice to face what's within. The Stoic uses solitude to improve his mind, to grow his soul, and to plan his next move with understanding. Solitude is not laziness. It is plan. It is presence without pressure. It is time regained, not time lost. It is the forge where discipline is hardened, where clarity is born, and where grit is tried in silence before it is proven in public. It is where the Stoic reads, not just to learn, but to learn the timeless lessons of those who came before. It is where the Stoic thinks not to judge, but to understand it. It is where the Stoic writes not to impress, but to remember who they are when the world forgets. Use your alone time as sacred time. Build your skills. Focus on your values. Reconnect with your nature. Become a master of your skill, not for applause, but for greatness. Not to impress others, but to share your true truth. Not to be better than others, but to become the best version of yourself. Make it a habit. Light a lamp. Sit in silence. Set a goal. Let your solitude be the haven where your vision sharpens, your purpose grows, and your character becomes untouchable. Let it be where your knowledge roots and your determination grows. Make your time alone, the time that makes everything else possible, the wellspring from which every great thought, every brave act, and every strong concept will finally emerge. Chapter 7. Self-discovery is the seed of all growth. To know others is knowledge. To know yourself is wisdom. It is one thing to notice the patterns of others. It is another entirely to shine a light inward and examine your own. Many can read people. Few can read themselves with clarity and kindness, and yet the biggest journey a person can ever take is a journey inward. Most people never truly know themselves. They live on autopilot, reacting to the world, shaped by their past, ruled by their fears. They receive ideas without asking them. They repeat pattern without understanding their origins. They numb their pain instead of exploring its statement. They live in clothes, dressed for approval, armed against judgment, hidden even from themselves. But the Stoic rejects this life. The Stoic picks the harder way to show to study. To know, you must become a student of yourself. Study your habits, not just what you do, but why you do it. Examine your thoughts, not just their content, but their tone, their source, and their impact. Question your thoughts, not to reject them blindly, but to test them to improve or replace them with truth. This is the lifelong education of the wise writing, reflection, deep thinking. These are not gifts, they are necessities. They are the tools that help you to dig into the bedrock of your character and find what was always there, beneath the surface. These techniques strip away the noise and show your nature. Untouched by time, culture, or hope, when you journal, You enter into talk with your soul. When you meditate, you listen with respect. When you think deeply, you draw maps of your private world, so you may walk it with understanding, instead of wandering mindlessly. Ask, who am I, when no one is looking? What do I believe in? Truly not what I've been told, but what rings with my inner knowing. What would I die for? Not out of feeling, but out of commitment. What am I living for when all the noise fades and only the important stays? These questions are not distractions. They are compasses. They guide you not to joy, but to truth. You will not find these answers in a crowd. You will not find them on a screen or in someone else's words. You will not find them in the noise of opinion or the glitter of success. You will not find them in likes and applause or in the mirrors of your personalized picture. You will not find them in fast advice or quick inspiration. These are truths that take time, facts that demand your stillness, your weakness, your attention. They live beneath the surface of all the parts you've played and all the identities you've acted to fit in. They are waiting to be uncovered, not given. You will find them in solitude, in silence, in the holy pause, between distractions, in the shaking calm that follows a deep breath, in the quiet that does not seek to be filled, but honored in the quiet moments, when you're not acting, not chasing, not changing yourself for the sake of anyone else. It is in this deep inner sanctuary that your most true voice begins to speak, and when it does, it doesn't shout it, whispers, it nudges, it reminds you of who you've always been. Beneath the noise, it calls you back to your heart, not to impress, but to be whole in the unwavering honesty that only comes when you sit with yourself long enough to hear what your soul has been trying to say all along. Rediscover your way, not someone else's road, not society's plan your way. You will find those answers not in the many, but in the one yourself. You will find them on your path alone, where the only voice that matters finally has room to speak. And that voice, once heard, once regarded, will move you forward with the kind of trust that cannot be taught, only remembered. It is not new knowledge, but old truth returning, and that truth will set you free. Chapter 8. Walking alone to lead others well. Ironically, walking your road alone is the very thing that trains you to lead love and serve others. It's not solitude that disqualifies you from community. It's what trains you to enter it with deep confidence and clarity. For only when you know yourself can you truly understand others. Only when you have felt your own silence can you be present for someone else's pain without having to fix it, without making it about you. When you no longer need anyone, you are finally ready to be of use to everyone. You are not touched by flattery. You are not twisted by guilt. You are not ruled by the need to be liked. You are strong, not because you control, but because you are rooted. You don't seek to control others. You simply no longer let them control you. This kind of strength makes you a lighthouse, rather than a ship tossed by the tide. You offer light, but you don't chase storms. The Stoics were advisors to emperors, generals, and kings, not because they sought power, but because they had mastered themselves. They were trusted, not because of what they wore or what they owned, but because of how they lived and what they showed. Their presence carried weight because their wisdom had been tried in quiet, not taken from books alone. They knew the chaos of power, and so they could offer calm. They knew the temptation of fame, and so they could offer perspective. If you want to help the world, start by helping yourself build your inner citadel. Increase your limits, sit with your flaws, walk your path, face your fears without flinching. Find your truth and let it change the way you speak, act, and serve. You cannot pour from an empty cup. but you also cannot pour from a broken one seal. The cracks with care, rebuild the base with courage. And then when you are full, when your cup spills, not from energy or performance, but from a deep well of alignment, you can give without loss. You can love without losing yourself. You can listen without having to speak. You can lead without the need to be followed. You can serve, not from lack, but from abundance. Walk your path alone, not because no one else counts, but because you must become someone who can truly matter to others. Because your solitude isn't a vacation, it's an education. And from that training comes a strength, a knowledge, and an attitude that the world deeply needs. Chapter 9. The practice of inner power, going alone, is not only a test of courage, it is the growth of discipline in a world that rewards speed, noise, and constant return. Choosing the quiet, careful pace of self-mastery is an act of revolt. The Stoics knew that freedom is not doing whatever you want. It is having the power to do what is right, even when no one is watching. That power comes from within. When you walk your way alone, you train yourself to become master over your own feelings. You begin to watch the forces within you, the tug of temptation, the pull of safety, the storm of feeling, and instead of bowing, you learn to steal. You learn how to delay joy. You learn how to sit still when your feeling screams for escape. You learn how to wait when others rush wildly into pressure. You learn how to handle the discomfort of unknown without falling apart. How to stay steady while everything around you wavers. Solitude becomes your gym, your monastery, your proving ground. It is not the loss of the world, but the presence of the self, fully involved, fully awake, fully in charge. And this kind of discipline doesn't just make you more focused. It makes you more free, because you are no longer at the hands of your thoughts or events. You are no longer tossed around by every opinion or drawn by every distraction. You begin to master the art of response, not reaction. You begin to slow time down, not literally, but psychologically, making space between information and choice. You begin to lead yourself, and that is the first condition for leading anyone else. Because if you cannot control your own mind, how can you change another's to walk alone? Is to walk with integrity. It means living in line with your ideals, not your ease. It means picking what is right over what is easy, especially when no one is watching it. It means accepting your truth, even when it's inconvenient, even when it hurts, even when it costs you something. It means making a life that is not only useful, but important. A life with soul, with meaning, with purpose. A life that can weather storms, not because it's safe, but because it's grown. And it is in this solitude, in this sacred independence, where that foundation is laid. This is where you learn what you believe, why you believe it, and whether you're willing to live it without the noise, without the crowd, without the applause. You discover what you actually stand for and what you're no longer willing to trade for praise. So when the world says you're falling behind, let your silence answer. Let your breath slow. Let your roots reach deeper. Let your stillness be louder than their urgency. When others say, "Why aren't you doing what we're doing?" Let your peace respond. Let your quiet confidence echo where their confusion roars. Let your place speak for you. You are not behind, you are beneath. Beneath the surface where roots grow deep, where winds cannot shake you, where time is not spent, but committed, where you are becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to catch up because you've been building what cannot be rushed. And when you rise, it will not be noise. They hear it will be thunder, not the thunder of goal, but the thunder of presence. Not a shout, but a shift. The quiet force of someone who has mastered themselves before they've tried to change the world. Someone who knows that the biggest power is often the calmest, that the biggest effect starts in quiet, that the best souls are made far from the stage and the sacred space of walking alone. Chapter 10. The unshakable heart. What does it mean to be unshakable? It means you are no longer carried away by every storm, no longer bent by every breeze. It means you have found your center and made it holy. To be safe is not to be fixed, but based. It is not about fighting feeling, but beating the chaos it can bring. It's knowing that you are more than your position, more than your picture, more than the ever-changing thoughts of the world. The Stoics taught that our power lies in what is up to us, our thoughts, our choices, our mood. Everything else is not ours to control. Most people spend their lives trying to bend the world to their will, but the Stoic bends inward, mastering the only world that truly belongs to them. When you walk your path alone, you are forced to face the difference. You stop wasting energy trying to control what you cannot and begin mastering what you can. You let go of illusion. You stop asking that the world be fair and begin building the strength to face it as it is. This is the home of peace, not the kind of peace that comes from calm surroundings, but the kind that burns quietly within, even in chaos. It is not surface-level peace, but something far deeper. A steady hum in your chest that says, I will not be moved. It's the peace of someone who has made the appropriate sacrifices of ego, of pride, of distraction, to become rooted in their truth. It's the calm of a soul that has sat in its own storms and found clarity. It's the strength of someone who has stopped wanting approval and instead has chosen peace. When you walk alone, you learn to anchor your joy. Not in outs comes, but in principles, not in applause, but in goal, not in others' views, but in your own peace. And from that place, you become unshakable. You stop counting on the world to affirm you. You no longer need to be learned to feel at peace. You no longer need everything to go your way to feel whole. You carry your heart with you like a fire that no storm can put out, and it burns steady. No matter the weather around you, your center becomes a guide, and no matter how loud the world gets, you keep your direction, you keep going forward. While others drift in circles, you are no longer a leaf in the wind. You are the root in the earth, the tree that bends with the storm, but never breaks. You are no longer moved by criticism or praise. You hear both, but you are ruled by neither. You no longer chase what is popular. You follow what is true. You no longer ask what will they think, but rather what is right. You do not rise and fall with trends or thoughts. You walk in rhythm with something deeper, something timeless, something holy, and that rhythm becomes your anthem. Your pace, your strength to find that center. You must make room for it. Carve it out in silence. Make it holy. Let it grow wild before you control it. With self-awareness, it is not found in the chaos, not in the people, not in the confusion of constant comparison. It starts in stillness, in the deliberate clearing away of distraction noise. And need your center is not something that shows itself immediately. It must be revealed slowly, calmly, and with respect, like a secret relic beneath layers of time and experience. It waits for your touch, your awareness, your desire to dig. Feed it with truth, your truth, not stolen ideas or famous themes. Feed it with what fits, with what rings in your bones. Let your feelings be your guide, and your self-reflection, the lamp that lights the way. Return to it, often not once, not occasionally, but daily. Build routines around it. Quiet mornings, planned pauses, reflective evenings. These practices aren't about habit alone. They're about fidelity, loyalty to yourself, to your clarity, to the home you're building inside. Protect it like your most important treasure, because it is guarded from the loss of external approval. Safeguard it from the fog of mass confusion. Let it become your spiritual home, the place you visit when all else feels lost. Let it be the well you draw from when you're tired of acting, the hearth you return to when the cold of the world tries to seep in. Let it be the anchor in every storm, the place that tells you who you are. When the world forgets safe from the noise of the world, not with walls, but with awareness, understanding that not everything deserves your attention, that not every group has won the right to enter. Know the difference between stillness and stagnation. Stillness restores, stagnation depletes. Know the difference between peace and fear. Peace strengthens, avoiding hides. The more you return to your center, the more familiar it becomes, and the more stable you become. And once it is built, you will never again feel truly alone, because you will have found the one place in the world where you are always welcome. Within that inner sanctuary becomes your refuge, your compass, your beginning, and your return. You won't need to constantly reach outward for comfort or belonging, because you will have discovered the steady company of your own soul. And in that place, there is no fear of judgment, no fear of abandonment, no fear of inadequacy. There is no pretense, no image to keep, no mask to maintain, no story to spin. There is no rushing to be enough, because you finally understand you already are. There is only presence, a presence so rooted and still that it rules the room without a word. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's deeply undeniable. And presence once fully owned cannot be shaken. It becomes a solid ground beneath your feet. When the world tries to move you, it becomes your clarity in chaos, your peace in the noise, your light in the dark. It cannot be stolen. It cannot be stopped. It cannot be sold or borrowed. It becomes your shield and your welcome. Your shield from the chaos and your bridge to true connection. It becomes your power, not the power to rule others, but the power to never be ruled by anything that tries to pull you away from yourself. Not fear, not shame, not pressure, not dream you no longer. Chase approve, because your guide is internal. You no longer chase love because you carry it. You no longer seek to prove you, simply are. It becomes the rhythm of your walk, the calm in your gaze, the stillness in your strength. You move slower, but with purpose. You talk less, but with gravity. You act without reply, love without link, live without permission. And from this place, you rise, not with noise, but with knowing, and knowing that can't be explained, only felt a knowing that others recognize. In your quiet courage, your unshaken peace, your solid presence, a knowing that goes beyond your words, that brings others home to themselves, simply by watching you in yours. This is what it means to walk your path alone, and to come not empty, but whole,